Hello everyone, welcome to my class, and in today's class we will study nucleic acids, which serves as a very important part of the biomolecules chapter. So let's get started. As the name itself giving you a sense that nucleic acids will be confined to the nucleus of a cell, and nucleus is the control center. Okay, so we have to study basically two nucleic acids. One is DNA and another is RNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. Okay, now nucleic acids, both DNA and RNA, they are polymers, and basically they are polynucleotidic structures. Polynucleotidic structures means the monomer unit in them is nucleotide. So whenever this nucleotide is repeated numerous times, then obviously a polynucleotide structure will be formed, and that's what I have written here. Polynucleotidic means many nucleotides together. Okay, first we'll see how basically DNA is formed and what is the basic difference. Okay, let's move on and study first that how actually a nucleotide is formed. So a nucleotide is formed by three components. One is known as the base, another is sugar, and the third component is known as the phosphate. Now again, bases are of two types. They could either be purines or they could be pyrimidines. Okay, so purines are the double ringed heterocyclic structures. When I say double ring, means two rings will be there. So see somewhat the structure is like. Means in the structure of purines, beside carbon, nitrogen will be embedded. That's why we say that these are heterocyclic rings. Okay, hetero means dissimilar. So whenever you made benzene, we don't specify carbon because we already know that 6 carbons are there at its edges. But in purines, it is a heterocyclic structure, means nitrogen is embedded in between. Similarly, pyrimidines are the single ringed structures in which nitrogen is embedded in between. Okay, the structures of the structures of purine and pyrimidines are not important to be learned, but yes, the logic should be clear to you. Now, which falls in the category of purines? It includes adenine, which is a nitrogenous base. So here you can add on nitrogenous word as well. So a nucleotide is made up of nitrogenous base, sugar, and phosphate. Purine include adenine, which is abbreviated as capital A, and it also includes guanine. So these are the examples of two purines, and they differ in their structure, of course. That is why they are named separately. Pyrimidines includes cytosine, which is abbreviated as C, and thymine, which is abbreviated as T. Remember, right now we are talking about DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is the heredity material of the human beings and majority of the organisms on the earth, because it is stable in nature, right? If we are talking about sugar in the case of DNA, then it is deoxyribose sugar. Important to know is that it is a pentose sugar. When I say pentose, I think it's making sense to you that it contains how many carbon? 5 carbons. That's why I have written C5, means 5 carbons. Now if you see the structure, pentose sugars are made like this, and this one is the C1 position, this is the C2 position, C3, C4, and here comes C5. In this structure, what is important to be learned is that at C2 position, H group is there in the case of deoxyribose sugar. This presence of H atom at the C2 position is responsible for the stability of DNA. This is very, very important. So absence of oxygen at C2 position makes the DNA stable. We will see after a while why RNA is unstable. At that time we will discuss that the sugar in the case of RNA is ribose, whereas in the case of DNA it is deoxyribose. Okay, so deoxyribose is stable because it does not contain any oxygen at its C2. It just contains one hydrogen atom. That adds stability, and that's why DNA is hereditary material in majority of the offsprings. Now phosphate group is attached, and need not to learn the representation. You can simply learn P, because complex structures will not come in any exam as it is MCQ based this year. Okay, so logically it should be correct. So nucleotides, let's sum up. It is made up of base, sugar, and phosphate. In the case of DNA, the purines include adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines include cytosine and thymine. Sugar is deoxyribose, and phosphate molecule is common. Okay, now we'll see how actually they get attached. So let me make the pentose sugar for you. Right, you have to learn the positions. Basing upon the positions, questions come most of the time. Right, now where do these phosphate and base attach? Because we are supposed to form a nucleotide. Remember, base is always attached at C1 position, and the bond that is formed in between, it is known as glycosidic bond. This requires learning. And at C5 position, which one is attached? Phosphate group is attached, right? And which bond is there? Phosphodiester bond is there between the sugar and the phosphate. So this has to be learned, that which bond is formed between sugar and base? Answer is glycosidic bond. Which bond is present between sugar and phosphate? Answer is phosphodiester bond. So this has resulted in the formation of a nucleotide. So when many such nucleotides are repeated, then DNA is formed. Let's talk a bit on it. I have told you how actually one nucleotide is formed. So this is our one nucleotide. Generally, when we are supposed to form the polynucleotidic structure, this is of course our base. Let's take an example of A here. A means adenine, which is in the example category of purines. Okay, so whenever we are forming a polynucleotidic structure, we don't attach anything to C5 end. Okay, so at this time our 5' end is free. 5', this is the way to write, so you have to write in this way only. These are the rules. 5' end means the C5 position of the deoxyribose sugar. Okay, so here hydroxyl group is there. To this hydroxyl group, phosphate attaches. Remember, this is very important. Whenever you are showing a nucleotide, just a nucleotide, you will show phosphate at the C5 position. But if you are making a polynucleotide structure, C5 position will be left untouched, whereas phosphate will be attached to 3'. Fine. Now this way, here it will be C5, and then so only in the first case of the sugar we have to leave C5 blank, otherwise the phosphodiester bond will be between the C3 of the first sugar and C5 of the upcoming one. Okay, so here you can see that phosphodiester bond is present between the 3' end of the deoxyribose sugar and 5' end of the next unit of deoxyribose. So if you will continue making it, let me make one more molecule so that you can easily understand what am I talking about. So this is 5' end is already attached. This is again our phosphate molecule, and this will be attached to the C5. Okay, so this way the chain will be there. Fine. Now this you have already understood. Let me make this complete because I have to show C3 end free there. Okay, this is our C5, this is our deoxyribose. Okay, now here in this is our C3 unit. Remember, whenever you are preparing a polynucleotidic structure, at the top I have already told you that you will be leaving 5' end free, but in the case of this structure, when it is ending, you have to leave 3' end free. So here you can notice I have not attached any group to C3 because you know there is a logic behind it, that DNA is always written from 5 to 3'. So 5' end means the topmost glucose or the deoxyribose that is there, its C5 is free. At the bottommost, its C3 is free. I hope this is making sense to you. And now let's see, base will be attached here also. So here you can attach any base. So this way we have made the polynucleotidic structure, and one strand I have made. Okay, so we have made the structure. Simplest form of the structure is this. 1 unit of sugar is there, then phosphate is there, 1 unit of sugar is there, and then phosphate is there, and this is the 5' end and this is the 3' end. Important thing that we have noticed in this structure is that base is always attached to the sugar and not to the phosphate. So please don't make mistake. Whenever you want to show the backbone of DNA, please make like this. So backbone of DNA is made by the sugar and the phosphate molecules, and base is always attached to the sugar molecule by the help of glycosidic bonds. Now this I have shown in one direction. Similarly, the other chain of DNA is also there, but it will be there in the 5 to, it will be in the opposite polarity, means one end is 5 to 3', the other will be written 3 to 5'. Remember, whenever you are showing DNA, the arrow will always be there at the 3' end, and here you can see the way I have written, right? So I'll share a video in my link, and even in the I button at the top, you can see that to understand how the DNA is anti-parallel in nature. Okay, so one strand I have already shown you. You can watch out a video in the I button to understand how is the second strand present, and that's why DNA is anti-parallel in nature. Okay, so this is the basic structure of DNA. Another important thing which you need to know is complementary base pairing rule. Complementary base pairing rule says that purines, they always bind to pyrimidines and vice versa. Vice versa means pyrimidines will also bind to the purines. Let's take an example, but prior to that you must keep it ready in your mind that purines include your A and G and pyrimidines include your C and T. So in DNA, as for the complementary base pairing rule, A always binds to T with double hydrogen bond and vice versa. Means T also binds to A by double hydrogen bonds. Now here see, A falls in the category of purine and thymine falls in the category of pyrimidines. Here this is a pyrimidine and this is a purine. So we have justified our saying that purines always binds to the pyrimidines. Number of hydrogen bonds are important to be learned, that A is connected to T by the help of 2 hydrogen bonds. Now see, cytosine always binds to G by 3 hydrogen bonds. So here 3 hydrogen bonds has to be learned. Cytosine falls in the category of pyrimidines and guanine falls in the category of purine. So you have seen pyrimidine has bound to a purine and vice versa. Means G will also bind to C with the help of hydrogen bonds, which will be 3 in number. Now before I sum up, let's see the straight chain structure of DNA once again. So whenever straight chain structure is there, you will be making SP because they are forming the backbone. And remember, in front of S will only come. So please make a note that in front of sugar will come, in front of phosphate will come, in front of sugar again these things are repeated. Okay, I'm just clearing it up because I'll be showing bonds in between. This is our 5' end, this is our 3' end, this is our 3' end, this is our 5' end, because DNA, the two chains, they are anti-parallel to each other. Okay, so whenever you are going to make the bases, suppose here I have just shown you 2 bases, fine. So you have to write the bases here according to the base pairing rule. So I have just told you A always binds to T. That's why I have written T here. G always binds to C. And how many hydrogen bonds will be there? Here double and here triple. So this is the straight chain structure of DNA. And DNA is double stranded. Important to know. Double stranded structure. It is also written as dsDNA, D for double, S for stranded. And whenever you are going to make double stranded DNA, it will be made like this. This double handed or double stranded structure of DNA was given by 2 scientists, Watson and Crick. Remember, whenever you are making it, you need to show polarity, and one strand will be 5 to 3' end and another will be 3 to 5'. I mean vice versa. Okay, so this structure that was given by Watson and Crick, it is also known as B helix. We will study more details of it in grade 12th. Now before we sum up, let's take one important thing. Whenever we want to show the dimensions of DNA, we make DNA open like this so that it can be easily understood by the students. Again, please notice, whenever I am making DNA, I am making the free ends. I am labeling free ends as well. Okay. So if it is asked to you what is the diameter, so this is the diameter of DNA and it is 20 angstrom. Okay, this has to be learned. Diameter of B helix DNA is 20 angstrom. This distance is known as the pitch of DNA, and the length of this pitch is 34 angstrom. Again, these values are very, very important. These are to be learned. So pitch of DNA is 34 angstrom. And if you see pitch, there will be 10 bases that will be found inside it. Okay. So 10 bases I have drawn here. If you want to make bases in the other strand, please make it according to the base pairing rule. So first base here is A, here you will be writing T, next is T, you will be writing A, another is C. So this way you need to progress further, and number of bonds will be as told to you for the base pairing rule. Now 10 bases are there in a pitch of DNA. So that means we are going to divide this 34 angstrom, which is the pitch of DNA, by 10. That means 3.4 angstrom. Means each base pair, why are we using the word base pair? Because see here, they are occurring in pairs, A, T, making a pair. So each base pair is 3.4 angstroms apart. These values are important to be learned: the diameter, the pitch, the distance between the base pair. And remember that 10 angstrom is equal to 1 nanometer. So you should know this conversion as well. So if I want to write diameter in nanometer, it will become 2 nanometer. As I have already shared the video, you can watch it for more clarity. You should know how to convert these angstrom to nanometer, because this can come in the NEET examination. It's a very important thing. They may ask you the values in nanometers. I hope everything related to DNA is clear. As the video is already being very longer, so I am going to record a next one on the properties of RNA. So stay connected. Thank you.